Let me welcome each and every one of us to this section. It's actually the second section of this panel on rupturing African cultural memories and identities in new Nigerian drama from 2010 to date. Just add the fourth section of this panel, where 5 people presented their papers. Presently, we are going to take 3 papers. Somebody will, Dr. Olai Fatima will be joining us online. I don't know if he's presently online. I'm trying to communicate with him to see if he's online. He has attempted to join before and was not able to connect, but now, yeah, I have sent message to him that we're online. So he will be joining online, and then we have Mr. Abib Adebayo Salaudin here who will be presenting his paper jointly written with Dr. Victor Osai Indero. Okay, I don't think Mr. Olufemi Adeosun from State University is online or will be joining us. I've attempted to reach him, but he didn't pick his call. And I've also been looking for Felix Babatunde Ubijobi. But once he's around, then we are going to take him. So in the immediate now, please, can you ensure or check if we already have Dr. Olai Fatima online?
Yes.
Not yet.
Yes. It's not yet online.
Okay. So, please, once we are ready with his paper, then we take his own paper. I expect him to join online now. He has attempted to join online before the update. We're not having. So this is student of the time. This is been attempted to pass. I'm reading that use this process.
You need attendance or something. It's Milan.
It doesn't. Yeah. It's all good.
Okay, so you have
it is Fatima online now.
no, not yet.
Oh, okay. So while we keep waiting for Dr. Fatima, and then we are going to listen to Mr. Salaudin. I mean, please, you have 15 minutes to present your paper.
Sorry.
Hello, Victor, can you mute yourself?
No,
Good, you can. I'm Salaudin. This paper certainly yes, collaboration with the society. The title of the paper is System Healing and the electrodramatically of healing literature in Nigeria. Yeah, simply outbreak of landed in the 14th century. The world has actually experienced a lot, other 8 different epidemics or pandemics in the world, with COVID-19 actually being the largest and the latest after the first experience, that's the largest. So the diverse outbreak have required literature that portray human experiences and as well as their reaction in the time of crisis. It therefore follows that the theme of play has long been used as a mega for studying societal inequalities and the human nature within human society. And the idea of play actually is not new to the African society because several communities within the shores of Africa have actually witnessed different forms of play, sometimes annually. Predominant among this annual play within the African society, especially grassroots communities sometimes, and the recent information we heard about the outbreak of cholera in Lagos State is also one of the examples of the plague situations that we have in the African continent. But despite the realities of play within the last 1.5 decades in the world and in Africa, we realize that the African continent is yet to account for a body of literature that addresses or captures, documents the reality and complexity of a literature that is known as what? A plague literature. So it is in this essence that this essay actually explores the concept of COVID-19 as a sinister masquerade. The idea of mask actually is rooted in anthropology. That's page 7. It's rooted in anthropology. But when we look, and by extension, performance tradition. But when we look at the true concept, we realize that largely it connotes the commonality of the fact that it thrives on the ideas of representation, symbolism, and events. And when we talk about a masquerade, it's actually coming to the base. It's actually an individual that is actually wearing a mask in the event of what? A performance. And this performance actually within the African society is of different essence. We use the concept sinister mask and masquerade because we believe that the idea of play actually is a kind of a pandemic, epidemic. And what actually instigated us to come up with this study is the recent COVID-19, in which we know that as one of the core practice during the period was the wearing of masks. So, and when we talk about this, the word sinister now implicates the fact that while this COVID-19 was going on concurrently, there were a lot of atrocities, mismanagement, terrible incidences that was actually going on within the Nigerian state and even within the shores of Africa by extension. So beyond the issue of, and when we look at the concept of eco-dramaturgy, we realize that it's an emergent field that combines environmental study, sustainability, and theater to explore ecological themes and promote environmental consciousness.
So, and when we talk about this plague literature, it's actually not new to the world. We can quickly take our mind back to one of the play of Eric Ibsen, The Enemy of the People. And in another dimension is called The Public Enemy. So it's a play that actually documents the situation of plague within the Norwegian society. So, and as such, we believe that the concept plague literature actually has this ability or has the potential to be documented as a form of subgenre of drama within the postmodern society. So now we want to go to the synoptic explorations of the play. So Rotting Petals, actually written in 2021 by Olayinka Magbabiola, actually narrates the fate of a nation that is caught in the conflict of pandemic and uprising cut short by military brutality. The story revolves around Tide. Actually, Tide is a military person outside the country whose wife is about to put to bed. So he's in a haste to come down, to travel down to Nigeria to witness the arrival of the first baby. And during the period on getting to the airport, he met the uprising of the COVID-19. And as such, he couldn't go back to the home. Rather, he was isolated and monitored over a period of time to ensure that he's not COVID-19 positive. While during this experience, he had a friend called Judah Isi, who is a good friend. But the situation turned around when he realizes that today, Judah Isi is actually a close associate of the chief, the head of the isolation center, which is known as Chief Let Me Spend It. So they committed a lot of atrocities during this period. Several vans of money, bullion vans comes into the isolation center at the dead of the night to upload and also take around even some human in disguise. Again, in the period of this isolation, the chief, the head of the isolation center, also move about, committing a lot of atrocities, rape, sex with teenage girls, thereby destroying their future and getting them to the point of self-suicide. So while these continue within the society, eventually after the number of the days of the weeks of monitoring, today was confirmed negative of COVID-19. On his way home, he met the popular event that happened in Nigeria, which was NSAS. You know, it happened shortly, even shortly before the end of the, immediately after the end of the sit at home, was the lockdown. So during this period, while he was moving home, trying to be curious about what is happening, he intends to join the protesters to be able to actually drive home their demand in order to end police brutality. But unfortunately, he was killed. He met his end through a stray bullet resulting from the pandemic. Now, after this, another play within the that is under consideration is a play of palliative looters, 2022 by Bode Ojoni. It's also a satire that tells the story of rebellion against sovereign people of Nigara, or is it Niagara, by the political class as well as the people's revolt against the state in times of crisis, and especially in this case, COVID-19 pandemic. We recall that during this period, there were a lot of looting that happened to the palliatives, because it was a period a period of intense socio-economic hardship. Because for a common man whose daily bread is on going to the street on daily basis, have been apprehended, have been stopped from doing this. So as such, the realities before the society, before the man, make them to actually turn into to take law into their hand and look for ways of survival at all costs. So as a result of this, you know, a lot of the government, meanwhile, during the period of this looting, there were military officers standing and protecting the looters. That's the citizens that are also committing looting, because they have also been able to also take some, at least loot some for themselves before it became a public, it got to the public notice. So, and after at a point in time, the political elite decide to prosecute the citizen for doing this. But as they are trying to make this case, it got to the point that the citizen too immediately also comes up to also form a court, a people's court, and declare a vote of no confidence against the political elite within the society. Another play under consideration is the Corona Palaver. It's a comedy that actually lampoons the ineptitude of the Nigerian state during COVID-19. It's a satire, it's a satirical comedy, because it also exposes the socio-economic hardship that the common man actually goes through, and the culture of buying in credit. And of course, we remember vividly that period saw to the collapse of so many businesses in Nigeria. Myself is also a living witness. So after a point in time, even the isolation center is now more even glamorous, more safe for the people, due to the terrorism, due to the act of terrorism that is happening, especially because the play was set within the Lagos society. There is these 10 million boys that goes into write letters to society, to the communities ahead of time, that they are coming to loot and take what belongs to them. So these are several realities that actually happen within this period. And when we look at the metaphor of the sinister masquerade in the play, in the new Nigerian drama, we realize that in Ojuni's the play of palliative looters, for example, the reader is compelled to inquire into who the palliative looters are. Is it the citizen or the political elite? And there was this concept within the play, which for me, I feel that it stands better as a title than the looter, the palliative, the normal word palliative. It's called palliatives. That is, the thieves that are also looting, that are stealing the palliative that is meant for the people. So when we look at this, we realize that there are a lot of reality within the play. Meanwhile, the political elite had a different motive for putting those, for deciding to lock up those palliative that is meant for the masses, because they want to starve them to death. This is in the voice of one of the characters, Governor 6, which says, "We need a full North Korean or Taliban Afghanistan approach, sir. Just imagine men and women falling over themselves and crying to do obeisance to our passing God selves, whenever we walk by the roadside like the North Korean leader. Just imagine such a sense of awesomeness and fulfillment that will flow endlessly through our spine." Ojoni 2022, page 15. So for the political elite, the COVID-19 is just only a matter of a political game for themselves. And this is evident in the statement of several characters in the play, such as Senator 1 and 2, the party chairman, and their attendants. In the play of palliative, in Corona Palaver, there is a general climate of fear, not caused by the coronavirus alone, but the insecurities stemming from the lockdown. That is what I mentioned earlier, the terrorist act of the 10 million boys. Again, is that within the word of this play again, we realize that we come to a realization that beyond the government too also failed to fulfill their promise. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. So again, we realize that there was also the issue of infidelity on the part of government. They announced that they are going to reward whoever found the driver who drove the white man in Corona Palaver a huge amount. But after the discovery, they failed to reward the person. Unfortunately, this person who identified happens to be the wife of the man, the driver they are looking for. So in order to get money, he was able to, he tried to do this. Now, when we look at all this, we realize that the new Nigerian drama, actually, beyond that of the individual survivalist aesthetics, they try to discuss the issue confronting the socio-political economy of the Nigerian society, most especially the fundamental plague that has happened over time within the Nigerian society, which include the issue of environmental sustainability, plague, reproductive health, and the politics that goes underground. So we conclude that the dramatic literature of Nigeria is developing a new subgenre that is known as plague drama, or by extension, plaguism, within the study of African theater and drama. Thank you very much.
And then after that, we'll open the floor for interactions, questions, and answers. Dr. Lorunleke Ifatimeyin, please unmute yourself and speak to us. Okay, you have the floor. You have 15 minutes to present your paper, and then afterwards we will engage your paper.
Okay, thank you very much. Am I permitted to share screen?
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I don't know if you can view my screen.
We can view it. Can you make it full screen?
Yeah.
It's okay.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Olaya Ifatimeyin, and I'm presenting my paper entitled New Wine and Old Wineskins, Nigerian Dramatic Traditions and Contemporary Deflections. Right, so the literary space for Nigerian drama is said to have begun in 1956 with the publication of James N. Henshaw's This Is Our Chance. And ever since, other playwrights such as Soyinka, Clark, Osofison, Yerima Idegu, Ojoni, and so forth have emerged to provide for Nigeria a robust dramatic tradition. Their peculiar as well as similar treatment of subject matter, themes, style, and ideological preferences has generated an apparent need for categorization in the classification of Nigerian dramatic tradition. Akko 2023, Roy Omoni 2020, Ogumbi 2014, Kofowo Rola 2011 refer to this categorization as generations. And they identify 3 generations marked by varied temperaments and thematic preoccupations and concerns. The first generation, which is said to include, by their categorization, Henshaw himself, Soyinka, Clark, Rotimi, Ukala, and the rest, was preoccupied with a pride in cultural and historical identity and a cautious contemplation and sometimes avoidance of modernity. The second generation, which comprised of Oshofisa, Showande, Fatunde Omotosho, Tesonweme, is concerned with struggles and the pursuance of liberation and freedom. Basically, their interest is with social change and more universal / Western ideologies. The third generation, which would include Yerima, Idegu, Razaki, and Uto, concerns itself with a blend of themes and approaches from the first and second generation. And Ogumbi actually mentioned that there could be a fourth generation, which is said to be emerging and is motivated by contestations and an experimental consciousness to push the limits of the old till it bursts at its seams, or so it would seem. Now, the conceptual framework is this whole idea about boxing a tradition in various categories in a manner that will seem to suggest a taxonomy of pouring new wine in new wineskins and then old wine in old wineskins, and that one could not mix the two. And this conceptual frame is tied to a biblical verse found in Luke chapter 5 from verse 37 to 39, which is that, which I read, and no one puts a new wine into the old wineskins, or else the new will burst the wineskins and be spilled, and the new wineskins will be ruined. But new wine must be put into new wineskins, and both are preserved. And no one, having drunk old wine, immediately desires new, for he says, the old is better. And my contra analogy is that this suggests a rigid boxing of the categorizations of Nigerian drama in such a way that the old is the old, the new is the new, and then you find that they are framed within periods and the general socio-political environment or cloud around that period. And now I'm arguing that the taxonomy of categorization will suggest that there is old Nigerian drama and new Nigerian drama. The trajectory of such a life cycle is probably why Obafemi, for instance, prefers to refer to the various categories as residual, dominant, and the emergent, rather than the first generation, the second generation, and the third generation. And that the fixation of categories in Nigerian dramatic tradition would suggest that the new cannot be mixed with the old and vice versa. And that the old is better because it does not mix with any. And that, I'm saying, is the problematic. And the old is usually referred to as the classics. And you will hear scholars suggesting that anybody who wants to write good Nigerian drama, a very good drama, should try to ape the masters. And the masters are found in the very first generation, to include Soyinka, Olarotimi, and the rest. And I am saying that the drama, especially from 2010 to date, has shown a deliberate admixture of motives and themes cross generations, and it does not take anything away from it. And I've chosen, even though I've decided to use 2010 to 2023, for the purposes of this presentation, I'm going to look at three plays. The first one is by Henry Akubuiro, titled Yemtarawala, which plunges into the historical to celebrate culture and tradition in the character of first generation plays like Kurumi, Ovoranwem Nogbaesi, Ozidi. It examines topics of sibling rivalry, palace politics, mystical overtures, and a melodramatic triumph of good over evil. And I am saying that plays such as this can, if you take away the year of production and probably the name of the playwright, they fit into the period of the first generation in aside the year of production in terms of its thematic preoccupation, in terms of its desire to look at history in order to tell an African story. And this play is published in 2023. And then I also mentioned Bode Ojoni's play. And I am saying that in his play, our wife has gone mad. Our wife has gone mad. It is a classic example of a contemporary deflection of the dramatic tradition. While Olarotimis, our husband has gone mad, reflects a patriarchal dominance, right, and female subjugation. And Uto's play makes a case for women in our wives have gone mad again. Ojoni busts the old wineskin with his new wine by uplifting the woman to a privileged position enough, if not even in excess, and folk. And the argument is that while connecting to an intertextual thread between two plays, one from the so-called second generation, and then from the first generation, he has rethought the whole idea of representation in terms of gender and even opportunities found in society, as we can find with Daniela, who is well educated and is financially empowered in such a way that she can pay back the betrayal, so to speak, that her husband first did towards her. And then, of course, the third play I'm considering is Idegu's The Humans Are Not to Blame, which also renders a meta-mimetic interpretation to Rotimi's Gods Are Not to Blame by adopting the Marxist admonitions of the second generation to undermine the place of the gods in society and the idea of destiny as superintending the affairs of men by giving men and women the power to opt for change. Again, a space, a case of new wine in old skin.
Technology. Yeah, I know. It's still technology. It is from
So the argument or my conclusion, historical and chronological. Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you now, but at the point you just froze. But now we can hear you.
Oh, so
Refrosing.
based on generations is important. When we consider it from the lines of history and then chronological study of the evolution of Nigerian drama, but it should not be framed in the context of the old cannot be mixed with the new. And I'm saying that periods of production should not determine the meaning and category of dramatic composition, as the similarities, peculiarities, and differences found in text, or if you like, what we refer to as intertextual reverberations, are likely to fix new plays written from 2010 to 2023 as part of literature that celebrates themes that are also corroborated by the first, the second, and the third generations, if we are to go by those categorizations. And finally, that contemporary drama frees itself from such generational taxonomies and experiments with style, with themes and subject matter it pleases. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Patrick. Meta-mimetic interrogation. Now, please, do we now have Felix Babatunde Egunjobi in the house? So if he's not in the house, we have these two presenters. Dr. Victor is online.
Okay.
Yeah, he co-presented with him, so he's online with us.
Felix is online.
Oh, Felix is online? Okay. Oh, okay then. Please, Mr. Felix, you have the floor to make your presentation now. You have 15 minutes for this presentation, and then after that, we will interrogate your paper.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Egunjobi Felix Babatunde. I am presenting a paper entitled Egungun Akunogan of Fiditi, Evidence of Modernity in Egungun Pageantry. As we all know, Egungun stemmed from the need of is a Yoruba phenomenon, and it stemmed out of the need for ancestors' veneration among the Yoruba people. Egungun itself, they are believed to be the inhabitants of heaven that we call Ara Orun, because we believe that it is the beat of our forefathers or our fathers, depending on the generation, coming down to the physical world to visit, and sometimes they met out punishment to those people who refuse to, give them or accord them veneration. The origin of Egungun has always been a sort of controversy. Some believe that it is of Oyo origin. Some also believe that it is of Nupe origin. But if you deduce from all the authors that have written on the origin of Egungun, one can simply deduce that Egungun may be of Nupe origin, as Naala has said. But if you look at Baba Yemi's submission, that the Nupe people that were practicing the Egungun they were majorly the migrants from Oyo. They call them the Gbedegi. The migrants from Oyo, when Oyo Ile dispersed sometimes in the past. And although there are many masquerade traditions in Yoruba land, we have the Egungun, the Eyo, the Jogbo, the Epa, we have the Ekini, and an area we have Agbomere Mereke too. We have an area of Yoruba masquerade, but Egungun is quite different from all these masquerade traditions of the Yorubas. And one of the major differences in their is the composition of their costumes. The costume is quite different from all other masquerade traditions costumes. Like we have a lot of components of the costume. We have the jepe, which is always the first wear. They will say kagun. We have the okolombo, that is the wear after the jepe. We also have the main wear. We have the what we call the anwoduaye. That is true where the Egungun sees like a net. We have the akpabo, that is the Egungun shoes. We have the ibowo, that is Egungun hand gloves, and we have some other accessories too, which includes the wood carvings. We have sequins. We have also some areas of vegetal and non-vegetal materials, skulls and co. The construction of costume is always the combination of artists coming together, and those artists we will have the halaran. Those are the ones that sews that sew the cloth. We have the olono. The olono specifically, they are in charge of the wooden masks and figurines. Then we have the people that also put them together. They are always very special, although it is with the collaboration of the court tailors and co. although there have been a lot of foreign influences on Egungun mask dramaturgy, but it could be deduced from the recent researches into Egungun pageantry across Yoruba land that the thing is getting rejuvenated day by day. And one of the ways that is getting rejuvenated is in the composition of the costumes. The costumes these days have a lot of modernism in it. Even all those medicinal attachments that are always on the Google pageantry, most times now they are always hidden inside. It's not that the way they were displaying it in the days of the old as went down, and that is giving a ray of hope for Egungun that at least for posterity's sake, the phenomena, Egungun phenomena, is rejuvenating and is not going into extinction. Now, talking about Egungun Akunogan, if you see this Egungun Akunogan of Fiditi in recent times, it has the best costume you can talk about, at least in the axis of Fiditi area. And these costumes are always made out of very fine, colorful, modern. Although the wooden masks have not been changed, it is evident that it has not been changed for a very long time, but it's usually polished, especially during the annual Egungun festival. And another interesting thing is that this Akunogun we are talking about, year in, year out. Hello, are you with me? Hello? Hello?
We are with you. We are with you.
Okay. Year in, year out, this Egungun is always changing his clothes to more colorful one. So, and even within the festival period, that always lasts for 14 days. There is, when he wears one kind of cloth on the first day of the festival, before the what they call the Ije or the seventh day Ikaro, that is the celebration of the seventh day, he will have changed the cloth to another colorful one, and it has, it has always make onlookers to want to watch that Egungun, and it is because of this periodic changing in the costume of Akunogan that really make me to want to study that Egungun. And my conclusion on the Egungun is that, one, Egungun is likely to be of old Oyo origin, and the Nupe origin notwithstanding. Another one is that Egungun is different from all other masquerade traditions. That is why they will say ojú tó bá rí Egungun ti rí òpin idán, ojú tó bá rí gẹ̀lẹ̀dẹ́ ti rí òpin ìran. That means the eyes that sees Egungun has seen the end of spectacle, and the one that sees gẹ̀lẹ̀dẹ́ too have seen another end in another dimension of the spectacle. That is, separating them, that they are not really the same. So, and this I've also seen a lot of new trend in all this Egungun mass dramaturgy across Yoruba land, and this new trend has brought in a lot of arrangement of colorful textiles, especially in that one of some selected Egungun, particularly the one I'm talking about, Egungun Akunogan of Fiditi, that is always believed to be a gentle Egungun. The wedding figurine on top of that Egungun Akunogan too is something that is worth study on its own. And because they believe contextually is that Egungun Akunogan always give children to barren women, and that is why the figurines are made up of small children. There is a slogan, they always say that Omo were lori Akunogan. So, and essentially there is no specific color symbolism in the costume of Akunogan. The colors are just always very they are always very bright. You hardly see a dark color even when you see a dark color on the costume of Akulogan, it's always, you see more of the bright colors on it. And talking of the future of Egungun pageantry, because of all this modernity that all the people that or the people in the Egungun court are bringing into the Egungun spectacle recently, it has spoken, and the area of researchers and scholars that are writing on Egungun, it has spoken a future for Egungun mass dramaturgy in Yoruba land, and has opened a door for any people that for anybody that want to study any aspect of Egungun pageantry in Yoruba land and globally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please kindly stay online so that you take questions that are for you and then you respond to them appropriately. So please, the floor is open for us to interrogate these papers, these three papers that have been presented by Mr. Abib and Dr. Victor, then Dr. Fatime, and then Mr. Babatunde, Mr. Babatunde Egunjobi. Yes, questions. Okay.
Okay, my question goes to Mr. Olagoke. Dr. Olagoke Olorunleke. Okay, the presentation is well done, and I want to kudos your vibrancy. My question is that looking at the taxonomy of, the playwrights and, into the generations, is there any, relationship between what the new playwrights are doing with the contemporary, issues that are coming up? And again, if we look at the generations and the peculiarities of those generations, can't we also say they have also reacted to what is somehow derivable or what is the reality of their own generation? And in that situation, what are these present generation doing right? I mean, is there any change of form? Is there any change of, is there any change in the language? Because we now know that there is this kind of language, corruption anyway. Okay, that's my question. Then the second question goes to the Google presenter. I'm sorry. Okay, Mr. Felix Wahab today, that's a very good presentation also. So I want to really appreciate you. But throughout your presentation, what I'm perceiving now is that I think the culture of Egungun is tilting towards, the social, entertainment, and in fact, the Egungun is now getting more modernized. So bí wọ́n ṣe ń ṣe láyé báyìí ni wọ́n ṣe ń ṣe lọ́run. Sorry, I don't know if you understand my Yoruba. Not bí wọ́n ṣe ń ṣe, not bí wọ́n ṣe ń ṣe ní ọ̀run ni wọ́n ṣe ń ṣe láyé. It's like the Egungun, the masquerade, the ancestors now understand what the Athens, the world, wants, probably in order to reduce the extent of dreadness so that we can actually embrace them. So I don't know if you can pick one or two things from what I have said, and if you want to react to that. Thank you. Let me stop here.
Okay. So Felix, well done. My name is
Yes, sir.
My name is Taslian Yemuchan.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. My question is this: is there any form of control? Because, like the last speaker said, is there any form of control that can determine what these Egunguns do? Maybe like now he said it's becoming like a social performance. Maybe the other aspect of it, which we already know why these people are called spirits, is waning. We are seeing it modernized. So is there anything in place to like checkmate these excesses and also try to see if we can as much as possible, have a control and still have these things as our own culture. That is why, because I know that I saw a video in the Hmong of the Igbo where a woman was dancing romantically with a masquerade, which is not done, you know, but now the social media has made it popular that anything can happen. While he is clad in the mask, a woman is dancing with the spirit, you know, unquote. So that is one I want to know if there's any form of control there. That is one. And Dr. Ifatimei, thank you so much for that brilliant presentation. I enjoyed it. But I want to know if, like that's what you said, you use the word the so-called categorization of those three generations. Yes, the so-called. So don't you believe in those generations, or is there anything that should be mentioned as such? What the take on that? I want to know if there's something there. Thank you.
Well, I want to take another question on. Oh, okay. The floor is open. I think we should start with Mr. Felix Babatunde, and then we'll come to Dr. Olagoke.
Let me start from the last question on social control, a form of social control. Let me just start by saying that that is the reason why I was talking about Yoruba masquerade tradition. We have different masquerade traditions, and they are very, very different from each other. And in terms of composition of costumes, in terms of their social, the way the social engineering, you know, they serve as agent of social engineering. Even on all forms of practices, they are always usually different, and that is why Egungun, you know, I said Egungun is an ancestral. It was born out of ancestral federation, but they are very different. That of Egungun is always celebrated in a particular town with the Egungun court members and the authority of the king of the town. But mind you, we have different Egungun. We have the Egungun Omode, we have the Egungun Agba, we have the Alarijo, we have let me just say the Egungun Omode, those are the children, the Egungun Agba, those are the elderly Egungun, they are always very gentle. We have the Alarijo, those are the entertainers. We have the Egungun Olore, and that Egungun Olore, those are the ones that are violent. They are always beating people all around. And because we have this variety of Egungun, it is very, very difficult to put them into just one box. For the purpose of this presentation, I just need to say that even when you see the generic name of this Egungun, you see Oyi in Oyo, you see Oyi in Oyo, Oyi in Lora, Oyi in Fiditi, Oyi in Ibadan. Even when you want to look at the characteristics of all these Oyis that are the same, they have the same generic name, their characters are quite different. Some are gentle, some are violent, and that is why it is very imperative to study all the Egungun one by one. And that is why I decided to study Ekuno Aguno Ogan as an individual Egungun. But when you get to some towns now, I don't want to mention the towns here, please permit me. You see Egungun getting more violent. They are using it to settle scores. And that is why in some years they will ban them. In another year, they will leave the ban. And well, we cannot say such things will not happen because of the diversity of Egungun dramaturgy. Then the well, I think the people that are in charge of they are traditionalists have started seeing reasons why they should inject some things into different aspects of traditional religion that will make people to embrace them, people to study them, so that there will be documents against the future. Sorry to digress. An example is what we witnessed in the yearly celebration of Osho Osogbo Festival. For people like me that have been going to Osho Osogbo Festival since I was very young, you see that it has taken another trend that is quite different from, and people are now, they feel relaxed, relating with all these traditionalists, like in the past, where you see the costumes of Egungun very dirty, you see them putting all these medicinal ingredients on their medicinal attachments on their clothes, and you like scaring people away from appreciating them. That is why I said I studied it from the aesthetically enthralling nature of their costumes in recent times. Thank you. I don't know whether I'm able to answer the question.
Yeah, well, I want to really add some things to what you have said, because if we study the history of Alarinjo, what Adedeji even told us was that it was purely entertainment for entertainment purpose. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes,
I
sir.
think we also need to begin to put it in historical development. At what point did the Alarinjo or whatever become spiritual?
The Alarinjo theater.
You know,
it has become theatric.
because the Egungun was actually to entertain their laugh when they were captured. So they were for social purposes before. Now they became spiritual. So how did they transform to being spiritual and the rest? And I think that is the rupturing we are talking about. The shifting that is taking place, and then the fact that culture itself is fluid. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Balola. Sorry, Babatunde. So, Dr. Ifatime, we come to you. Can you please respond to the questions?
Okay. Okay, I believe that you can hear me.
Yes, yes.
So my argument, I will start with the last question, which is that I kept saying so-called generations. And I am saying that there is a need for a rupturing of such a categorization. That is my argument, right? That while the categorization of generations will have its purposes, I do not think that they should be fixated. I do not think that they should be rigid, okay? Because contemporary plays, I mean, even though all plays were contemporary at the point of production, right? But I'm talking about recent plays have semblances as those plays we have referred to as first generation, second generation, third generation. And once you do such a categorization, it will suggest that there is a generation that came and left, another one then came later, left, another one evolved, and it kept going in such progression. Of course, scholars like Veroma have argued that some of these plays, some of these playwrights have evolved, and you could find some of their works appearing in different generations. And it is because of such claims that I am saying that why are we so fixated about generations of plays? Because if we choose to interpret this place with contemporary happenings, contemporary lines of thought. Sorry?
Go on, please.
With contemporary lines of thought, then we would also make sense of what they are or what they are doing now, and what those plays, even though written so many years ago, could still be of such relevance beyond the dominant climate that motivated or inspired their conception in the first place. Then I hope that by saying so-called is not so offensive, sir. I'm just saying so-called because I believe in a rupturing. I stand for the rupturing of such categorizations and taxonomies. And then all right. Okay, thank you. Then the first question I got, which is also related to the second by the same person, which is that, so what is the relationship between what the new playwrights are doing and what the old have done? And I have said that because of intertextualities, you will find similarities between these these generations if we will still maintain such categorizations, right? But the new thing that I would argue the recent playwrights are doing is that they are not tied to a need to write back as much as the first generation was, because most of the plays written in the first generation were a response to aver and infer that Africans do have tradition, Africans do have drama, and our drama is in the plenty, just like Clark, argued. And that they are trying to show that with the mastery of the English language, Nigerians can also write plays that would move within the the tragic Aristotelian tragic frames as the classicals, the Americans have done. So mostly that is what they are doing. But the recent playwrights, as much as we know that the use of English diction, are all important to dramatic composition, they are more relaxed and they are simply writing to, one, express themselves, and two, to write back to society and not to an alien misconception or inference that we don't have certain things, right? But they are responding first and foremost to their need to express themselves, and then to the need to talk back to society. I mean, you have plays like the first presenter was talking about the COVID-19, the pandemic, and was talking about plays that came out of rights who are existential needs.
You are frozen again.
Boxed within frames of a particular style of writing, but they are simply expressing themselves. And this is why, for instance, you will see recent playwrights hardly write in acts and scenes. You will have movement situations and all that, even though it first began with the Oshofisons, because they also were after the Marxist rupturing of frames they inherited. And this, the theme of this panel is about such rupturings. And I'm saying that recent contemporary playwrights are also rupturing what we would refer to as the traditions or the formula for writing drama. And they are still also creating their own drama, which with time, hopefully, somebody will come and say that is a particular generation and it's also part of the classics and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Okay, so we still have some rounds of questions. Comment. Okay.
Good afternoon, Dr. Ifatimehin. I want to say I'm really pleased to meet you because I've read a lot. I've read some of your works, and we've never met, but I've done a lot of research on some of your works. And I think maybe it might be a comment. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Dr. Mujida Abdulalim I finished from maybe University. So I just want to make a comment as well as, I don't know whether it is going with what you have said or disagreeing with you. I don't think so. And when you talk about what is the difference in these 3 generations or more generations, I think for this generation, the content of this plays, because of adaptation, some of these contents of the play, though they have maybe the same theme, the theme is still there, but because of technology, AI, the text as in text has now become, for instance, audio. So when you talk about audio, you cannot be saying audio belongs to a first generation. That is a complete, characteristics of third generation. That's one change, which is very obvious. The other change where I can say that I can comment on is also in the issue. I'll give the play of Segun Adefila's Wole Soyinka, the one that they enacted at Freedom Park. For Wole Soyinka's plays, his stage plays, he has his props, he has his cast. But when you watch any typical Segun Adefila's plays, his props are humans. It has a very liquid flow in his drama. You don't see any market as a market scene. You see people that are used as props for even the table. Is a human being standing at the table. So this these kinds of changes in third generation dramaturgy, play enactment, I think brings out these differences. I think, if you agree with me, these differences we're talking about. So the content of the play is still there thematically, but the process from text to adaptations, and these adaptations come in electronic forms, multimedia forms, audio forms. So these changes are typical of third generation. And because of AI as well, which you don't even know where it is going, because we now have quantum. We have what you call virtual scripts, virtual reality scripts. And virtual reality scripts are actually almost live scripts. So this is what I would say is one of the characteristics of third generation dramatists and playwrights and plays that use this form, this process, these forms in their various drama. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm pleased to meet you too. And I'm quite delighted that you raised the issue of the computer, the AI, and all that. And I totally agree that that is one concept and platform that recent playwrights are appropriating in their writings and all that. But as for the biomechanical, style of staging plays, it also came with the rupturing that the second generation started with. The first generation wanted to create realism, wanted to show that, realism and all that are there. But even with the realism, practitioner scholars like Meyerhold, like Brecht, came to rupture the techniques that have to do with. It's not a recent thing.
Yeah. It's only in Nigeria that probably, or maybe in Africa, that some of this.
And yes, and all that. But of course, crossroads. I can't.
Well, Dr. Dr. Ifatimen, it appears you are frozen again. I want to interrogate Mr. Beams and Dr. Victor in their paper. Now, so you talked about COVID-19 as sinister masquerade, and I'm trying to really fully understand, is it as a motive that you say, okay, COVID-19 served a kind of mask motive, and in that sense, some of these contemporary plays, especially plays written within that period too, explore certain motifs. Is that the parallel you are trying to draw between the mask motif and those plays? Because in those plays, I actually did not see the mask motif directly, like probably masquerade performing or whatever, or the motif used like masquerade in the place. So in what sense is masquerade sinister?
Thank you very much. Dr. Victor actually is willing to, as part of a contribution to the work, is willing to also respond to the questions within it, and that's why he's online. Yes, yes.
Dr. Victor, please, can you also unmute yourself?
Yes, all right. Thank you so much, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Yes, I'm Victor Hidero. Thank you, Malam Habib, for the presentation. Thank you to the convener. The idea of mask, if you look at the way we play the word mask, M-A-S-K, it has to do with some kind of covering, right? Then we have kureding. And that takes place beneath the mask. So here, the mask is a form of news, right?
Okay. Go on, please. Hello?
So if you look at the plays under study, for example, we have, I like to make reference to Bodil, which is a play of the palliatives. And we see what police officer want, that their goal, their focus is not actually to go hard these victims, just to create that mask, to make it appear as if they are. But underneath, they are not. So it takes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go on, please.
Yeah, so yeah, COVID-19 offers us an event for us to actually understand Nigeria. So when we say the sinister mask or the sinister masquerade, we are looking at the depravity that takes place beneath the mask. In terms of our, inhumanity in the sense of, our humanity or our inhumanity, as the case may be. Look at what happened to persons like today. Look at his relationship to Judaism. If you look at what happened to Simi in the Rotten Petals, someone who was raped, someone who has been raped. No, that's not sorry, excuse me. I'm outside. That's not my card. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
We can hear you, but it's fading off, and I think we just have about 12 minutes anyway.
I said I didn't say it reflects, in your work when you are trying to analyze it, as in what is happening in the society when these plays were happening, as in relating the play to the present situation in the thing where you are trying to analyze it. But you discussed it extensively when you are trying to discuss the pandemic, the COVID-19. You discussed it, but I didn't see it play so much, during your discussion of the analysis, because they should reflect what was going on in the play. For instance, if this person would say this in the play, you could bring it in to say that the same thing was what was happening during this time,
Actually, it's part of the body of the work. It was during the time of having the and these tribes.
Okay. Do we have further questions? Okay, I think, Dr. Fatima, can we listen to your final submissions before we close, since we still have about 10 minutes now?
Okay, yes. So my closing remark would be that it is the act of rupturing. It is the act of rupturing, the contestations of, dominant practices and traditions that have actually promoted the evolution of drama, the evolution of practice, and that as long as the chance, the space to keep rupturing, the canons, the tradition that is entrenched, that is put in place, new methods, new styles, new generations, if you like, will continue to evolve. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Can we also listen to Mr. Felix Babatunde? Your closing remarks? Please unmute yourself.
Okay. My closing remark is just that all these traditional festivals that are banned, especially in our communities, we should always try to study them from within instead of giving the Westerners the opportunity of still studying them from outside and giving it a bad name, because I know our people, our forefathers were not really bad. They knew what they were doing. So we should just try and rejuvenate, with the study, not really the worship, but the study of African traditional religion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I still want you to consider again what Akin said about that binary way of thinking and addressing it may be very important. Very important.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay, so with this, please can we listen to Oga Abi for your
Thank you. There's more conversation we are trying to actually make it more drama and ideology. Just like also we have the Vietnamese Papa team theater. So we're all trying to propose a kind of or a theory of drama that is derived to as play drama that also stand in the place of drama as a in Africa and also in the world by extension. So thank you very much.
Well, I think that from what you have done, assembling this place that have been written post-COVID, and with the insight you are already getting into it, especially within this concept of motive of masking and the rest, you can definitely, it's something that you can explore, that there is actually what we call play drama. In fact, during that period of COVID-19, there was what we call intermediality, where rehearsals were taking place online and performances were taking place online, which eventually gave birth to what some people are talking about now as intermediary theater and whatever. So I don't think it's something strange for you to explore. Okay, it's an open field. But the point is that it fits within the concept of the shift, the rupturing that is going on as a result of new experiences, new ideas, and of course, the multiplicity of cultures, especially within digital experience.
What?
On this note, I just want to thank everybody, the presenters, the panel members, and everybody that has participated. Thank you very much. So the conversation continues. If you